If you watched the second episode of Moon Knight, you need to see this video. The story is ramping up real quick, so here are all the details you might have missed throughout the episode. We're gonna cover some references to the comics as well, so make sure you stay till the end of the video. First off, the beginning of the episode lets us know exactly how Marc and Steven's relationship is gonna flow. We will be using reflections, mirrors, and behavioral changes to know exactly who is in control. And that's important because there's gonna be some major changes from the comics. Marc Spector has dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID. So it's really not a case of split personalities. These are called alters. They essentially represent completely different beings that are inhabiting the same host body. Through the episode, it is solidified that Marc is the main host of the body. But the main focus of the show is going to be placed on Steven Grant and how he reacts to the supernatural world that is unfolding around him. We get an inside look at how this mechanic is going to work when Steven is visiting the central London storage. We find out at the same time he does that Marc is a mercenary and has been hiding a lot of stuff from him, including that beautiful golden scarab that we saw in the trailers of the show and in the first episode. Keep that little thing in mind because it's going to be a huge part of the story. Okay, are you still with me? Good. In order for Marc to take control, Steven has to willingly give it up or go to sleep. That's exactly why Khonshu is so stressed. He made a deal with Marc to save his life in order for him to become his avatar and do some tasks here on Earth. Pero papi, that deal is contingent on Steven not interfering. At this point, the show does an amazing job at blending different styles from supernatural horror to globe-trotting adventure, with the hallway scene that we see thereafter taking a stab at becoming your new favorite nightmare. Seeing Khonshu walk at me from a dark alleyway literally gave me goosebumps. It's definitely giving the Mummy vibes, but set in the Marvel universe. Okay, here's where the fun begins. Pay attention. Steven ends up having lunch with Arthur Harrow, where we get a clear look at his intentions and his motivations. Arthur drops a huge ass reveal that he was the first fist of Khonshu. That's why he can resonate so clearly with Steven. Harrow tells us that Khonshu can only intervene if the host lets him, as well as the fact that only the avatars of the gods can see them, as well as the other supernatural beings, which will come into play later. As far as motivations go, we know exactly why Arthur is pissed. He was clearly traumatized from his time serving Khonshu, specifically because Khonshu's so-called justice comes only after the crimes have already been committed, and thus he has decided to become a vessel for Amit. Using the scarab, he can find her tomb in order to release her, and once that's done, she can stop the crimes without ever being committed in the first place. I think you can already guess exactly where this is going, right? Amit is delivering justice before the evil act is even committed, so even an evil thought would get you condemned. In the most extreme of cases, even a child could get condemned because they're going to do an evil act in 30 years. Hold up, imagine getting mad at your boss and then Mrs. Killer Croc here is there to consume your soul and send it to the Shadow Realm. No papi, no I break. Anyway, sidebar, the best action set piece in the show happens exactly in this moment, because Steven realizes that giving the scarab to Arthur means that everything is gonna go to shit. Apparently, this golden little bug is pointing straight into Amit's Ushabti. These Ushabti figurines are featured clearly in the show because they are a key portion of ancient Egyptian funerals. They are small clay or rock figurines that are placed with the mummy of the deceased, and they generally bear inscriptions from the Book of the Dead. Basically, they're intended to serve as servants or minions for the deceased in case that they're asked to do labor in the afterlife. Okay, comic book time. After jumping from a window in the final chase, Marc tells Steven to summon the suit, just like in the name of the episode. And once he does, mi hermano, we get the first introduction to the one and only Mr. Knight. Except, he's a little bit different. The way that it's portrayed in the show is essentially that the suit will take different forms depending on how the user thinks. So in this case, Steven thinking of summoning a suit will give him a traditional bespoke suit, aka Mr. Knight, while Marc summoning the suit will give him the traditional ceremonial armor that he saw at Khonshu's temple, which will then bablau transform him into Moon Knight. It's a clear deviation from the comics, but I actually like it. From the source material, we know that when Marc Spector is transforming into Mr. Knight, Marc Spector is still the host, and utilizing this form, he works in tandem to the police to become the world's greatest detective. Ay, Dios mío, I can tell my editor's already gonna do something crazy. She's doing it, right? She's doing something not that detective.
Sexy Batman.
You see, if you hadn't stuck till the end of the video, you wouldn't have gotten that explanation. Moving on, in this rendition of the story, the suit will take the form based on the user's thoughts, which to me is a pretty unique perspective. My guess, this is going to be used as a plot point later on, and as Steven gets more comfortable wearing the suit, using the powers, and becoming the Fist of Khonshu, it'll get better later on. And who knows, maybe he can use Mr. Knight to fight back. Another big thing from the comics that we get in the show is the multiple personalities fighting with each other.
That's not me.
Even when trying to save Marc Spector's wife, Layla, who takes the place of Marlene, she can't see the jackal because she's obviously not the Fist of Khonshu. She doesn't have a connection to the gods, the supernatural beings. She can't see them. So Marc and Steven are still fighting even when they're trying to save her. She does end up hitting the jackal with a bottle, which clearly creates an outline. So I think there's gonna be something of that, you know, mystical nature later on. But anyway, at this point, after struggling with the jackal, they realize that in order to truly survive, they have to take the skill sets from each other and count on each other in order to survive. All of this madness is happening and Khonshu be like, damn, I really got stuck with an idiot. Well, he's gonna have to stay like that for a while because we learned that the Ennead, the Council of the Gods, banished him from the realm of the gods. Will he prove himself? We'll just have to wait and see. Overall, I think this episode did a ton of things right. It keeps the air of mystery that we got in the first episode while also expanding the story. We know exactly what the main villains want, we know exactly who the characters are and how they're set up, and every single turn gives us new clues so that we can decipher what's about to happen next, and we're doing it at the same time as the protagonist. Yeah, mwah, genius. Another thing from the comic books is that this show is clearly being set up as the foundation for the supernatural side of Marvel. With the Egyptian gods in the picture, things are about to get interesting. Thor Love and Thunder is introducing the Greek gods, then we got Morbius and Blade introducing the occult and vampires, and let's not forget Ghost Rider is just around the corner. Once Moon Knight is done, I would not be surprised if we get a Midnight Suns teaser. So far, Oscar Isaac's performance has clearly carried the project, and while some people didn't like the CGI, I was really impressed with the cinematography. The visuals, the mirrors, the shadows, the lighting, everything is unreliable, but it still tells us a big portion of the story. To me, this is the best introduction to a Marvel TV show that we have had thus far, which marks it as a solid 9.0 out of 10. Now that you have a solid idea of where the Moon Knight story is going, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe with that notification bell on because I'm covering all of the other episodes right here. As always, crack a smile, ride the wave, and I'll see you on the next one. Blow!